It is May 15th, 2022. My God. Anyway, I've got the moon card up because we've got a full moon out there. And tonight's kind of a special event because we've got a full moon, or perhaps because there's two tarot cards that sort of represent the moon. The moon, at least in her higher aspect, is represented by the High Priestess card. But the moon in its more spooky aspect is represented by the moon card itself. It's assigned to the zodiac sign Pisces, but very often when we think of eclipses and things like that, because we're having an eclipse of the full moon, okay? And the moon is in Scorpio, and that can be quite an energetic and sometimes disturbing combination. So we've got the moon in Scorpio, all the while Mercury is retrograde. Hello. I'm not an astrologer, but my friends Janet Barris and Annie Bones, whose celestial forecaster has for decades been classic, are astrologers. This morning I posted Annie's comments on the moon in Scorpio with all of this going on, and she gives some very wise advice on those of us who throughout this entire pandemic thing are just clutching with our fingernails onto what sanity we've been able to excuse me, there's music going on. Automatically, I have one of my own songs being played here. Excuse me just for a second. Talk amongst yourselves, everyone. Okay. Maybe we should listen to this song. Hang on. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay, that was my friend Oliver on harmonica and my good friend David Scriven on dobro. No, he's on harmonica, and my good friend Oliver Altine is on guitar there, or dobro. Anyway, you know, I should just probably punch stop and erase this whole thing because I'm off to a terrible start this morning. Mercury is retrograde. Okay. Be that as it may, hold on to your sanity tonight. Okay, and Annie's advice is to, if I would wrap it up, would be to go out of your way to look at the bright side of things and to amuse yourself, because the tendency to fly off the handle might be weigh heavily on you today. So please be good to yourself, be happy, today. And if you're like Constance and I, we plan on just walking part of the way over to McKinley Park at the most beautiful rose garden on the West Coast, and moon-view. We're going to go moon viewing tonight. So perhaps you would like to do something like that too. Be that as it may, with all these interruptions, yesterday I started talking about the Holy Guardian Angel and Crowley's Liber Samekh. Okay, and I was reading the material from my book, The Magick of Aleister Crowley, and I gave a big plug to the fact that it's going to come out next year in a wonderful new sort of expanded edition as one of the wiser classics of magic. And I wanted to sort of continue talking about that, but at the same time, I didn't want to burden us all with the details and the minutiae of Crowley's Liber Samekh. And but I did want to get it to a certain point because there's a point I wanted to make. Liber Samekh is Crowley's version, Crowley's modern, thelamatized, I guess, reworking of the pattern, the structure set by the sacred magic of Abramelin the Mage by Abraham the Jew, the classic ritual to achieve knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel. And Liber Samekh, which appears, or probably first appeared in, for most of us, in Magic and Theory and Practice. And the reason why many of us avoided it is because it's really long and very awkward to actually see what it is that we would actually be doing if we were walking through the ritual, even walking through it in our heads, because it's so minute. He wrote it in the early 20s when he was at the Abbey of Thelema, at the height of his spiritual experiments with cocaine. And it's obvious that his brain is running 1,000,000 miles an hour. Not that every little speck of it isn't brilliant. It's just, wow. It's Crowley turned loose on steroids. And it requires a great deal of study for a more stupid brain as myself to start gleaning the awesomeness of the text. So here's what I had to say, and this is where I left off yesterday. On the Tree of Life, he called this ritual Liber Samekh. Okay. On the Tree of Life, the path of Samekh is the second segment of the middle pillar that connects the ninth Sephirah Yesod, the moon, and the sixth Sephirah Tifereth, the sun. There's Yesod, the moon, Tifereth, the sun, and the path leading up to it is the path of Samekh, or the temperance card. Sagittarius. It's the arrow that's being shot straight up the middle pillar from the moon to the sun. Now I have lost my page. In Hebrew, the letter Samekh enumerates to 60 and means a prop or a tent peg or pole. In the traditional tarot, Samekh is a Sagittarius card, Temperance, which shows Michael, the archangel of Tifereth, reconciling opposites by pouring water on a fire symbol, a lion, and fire upon a water symbol, an eagle. Above the angel is a rainbow, the biblical symbol of God's covenant with man. And somewhere along the line here, I probably put it all away. I got these for my audio visuals, so I may as well use them for my audio visuals. Okay. And this is how I illustrate that in Tarot of Ceremonial Magic. There's that rainbow of Parokoth between the 10th Sephirah and the rest of the Tree of Life. And there's the moon of Yesod and the sun there, okay? And there's those opposite symbols, the red lion and the white eagle. And in that process, in the dynamics of this process, the eagle will turn red and the lion will turn white. It's like the sun and moon are lovers. Fire and water are lovers. And when they unite in ecstasy, they become a single entity by their polarities flashing back and forth. It's like when you're making love, when you're lucky, you get to a point of where you don't even realize you're getting as much ecstasy from what you're giving than as what you're receiving. As a matter of fact, those ecstasies match, and you don't know, you're no longer two individuals, you're one individual. If that makes sense, the consciousness melds. It's an explosion of ecstasy. And you don't know, and he doesn't know if he's she, and she doesn't know if he's he, because it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't even matter if it's physically a he or she. It's the receptive and the projective, if you would, no matter what that, how that polarity would express itself. Boy, I'm just rambling on this morning, aren't I? Okay. But I digress. The angel, above the angel is a rainbow, the biblical symbol of God's covenant with man. This rainbow represents the veil of Parokoth, which separates 10, 9, 8, and 7 from the rest of the tree of life. The path of Samekh, like the arrow of Sagittarius, pierces the rainbow veil of Parokoth and shoots up the middle pillar to Tifereth, the abode of the holy guardian angel. The version of Liber Samekh with which most of us are familiar was prepared in 1921 for the benefit of the Abbey of Thelema resident, Frater Progradior, Frank Bennett, Australia. Crowley had genuine affection for this courageous Australian who'd traveled to Cefalù for spiritual instruction. One afternoon, while walking together on the beach, Crowley, in the course of casual conversation, said something to Bennett that instantly unknotted a personal, unresolved internal conflict that had frustrated his spiritual advancement for nearly 30 years. We don't know exactly what that was, but you can imagine what happens. Something's been eating at your soul for your entire life, or most of your entire life, and it's a question that just is unanswered, and a paradox that you can't overcome. And then all of a sudden you're walking on the beach with Aleister Crowley, and he just says something just offhand. Boy, that seagull has a dirty beak, or whatever. It didn't matter. But it was enough to actually do the trick and unknot that knot in Bennett's. He goes, oh my God, yes, it's the dirty beak of my entire psychology. Whatever it was, it blew his mind so much that he was in a trance for 3 days. This event triggered a trance-like state of exaltation which lasted 3 days. Crowley was so pleased with Bennett's receptivity to the program that he wanted to present him with a master ritual for the invocation of the Holy Guardian Angel. Liber Samekh is that gift. Now, like I say, we have to put that all in perspective. First of all, we're not Frank Bennett. Second of all, we have to somehow translate what Crowley is saying to him into our speed, if you will. We have to turn down the speed of the recording that Crowley is spitting out to Bennett, and pluck the structure of what Crowley was trying to get across way back there in the 20s. The scaffolding of the ceremony is Charles Wycliffe Goodwin's 1852 translation of a fragment of Greco-Egyptian work upon magic, which Mathers included as the preliminary invocation in his translation of the Lesser Key of Solomon, the Goetia. It was informally known in the Golden Dawn as the Bornless Ritual. Now, that was the structure. That was the scaffolding that Crowley built this in wonderfully awesome guided meditation through. I guess that's the easiest way to describe that. To this, Crowley added an interpretation of the barbarous names, etymologically or Kabbalistically determined and paraphrased in English. So much for the skeleton of the ritual. Its soul is a running commentary and visualization instructions of, and in the ritual it's called point 2 and point 3. Here we find detailed directions relevant to the magician's internalized processes. In no other work is Crowley so explicit as to what should be going on in the mind of the magician. This ritual is performed entirely on the magical plane, in the magician's body of light. Everything is visualized, and Crowley is clear on every point. Also buried in the comments are treasures of magical data found nowhere else in Crowley's writings. Fundamental definitions of terms, concrete explanation of abstract concepts, and other gems that serve to fill many holes in the magical education of even the most knowledgeable students. But when I say buried, I really mean buried, okay? My only criticism of Liber Samekh deals not with the ritual, but with its original format. I must confess, when I first began to study it, I concluded I would never be able to construct a workable ritual from the material. Important comments and directions vital to the understanding of the ceremony are distractingly scattered throughout the 2 essays, points 2 and 3, at the end of the ritual itself. And there are other aspects of its organization that make its initial study awkward and time-consuming. Several years ago, I decided to do something about it and organized the two versions of Liber Samekh in my magical diary as follows. Now, when I say several years ago, now we're talking 35 years ago. And I'll show you what I did here. First of all, a study version, which includes point 1 exactly as the original. But underneath each section and each line of the text, I copied the descriptive comments from point 2. This enabled my poor linear brain to actually see what Crowley is talking about. And then 2, a working version, which serves as a practical script, displaying only the words, directions, and diagrams, like which stars to draw and signs to make and stuff, necessary to actually memorize and begin rehearsing the ceremony. Now, I've taken the liberty of giving you Liber Samekh straight from Crowley's version, and then that working model that I designed. And I'm going to show you how I did. This is my diary from that period. It was a blank book that was given to me probably by Constance, but I call it, because it's so pretty and green, I called it the Emerald Tablet of Lon. So, okay, so here's what I did. Notice the different colors of things. Okay, right over here, there's the ritual as it stands there, and I've got the circle drawn out and everything else. But over here in red, I've got those other sections, those descriptive sections. Okay, and I wrote the whole thing out. See those two little lines right there? Well, it takes that much of the description that Crowley has printed in the back of the ritual. See how I've done that? And there's those explanations. And this goes on page after page after page. That one of them is just so much description that it goes into 6 pages of descriptions. All the while, the ritual itself is left dangling there. Okay. This goes all the way through. I'm sorry. It goes all the way through to that much. Okay. It's this whole thing. Until finally, I summarize the whole thing with a simple ritual, as if you would see it printed out as the pentagram ritual or the hexagram ritual. And it's just in like 5 pages. That could be printed out as a script and held in the hand and rehearsed physically. So all of this in the book is summarized by what I call ceremony of invocation of the Holy Guardian Angel, constructed by LMD based upon the text and notes of Aleister Crowley's Liber Samekh. And it's just a very, very simple ritual that looks like that you could actually, okay, you move to the east, you move to the west, and you draw this, draw that, do everything else. But meanwhile, things are going on in your head, visualizations are going on in your head, and once you've memorized the walkthrough, then you can easily access his notes. Oh, and when I do this, oh, I'm thinking about that kind of thing. But anyway, I'm tooting my own horn about that. Have I done it? I'll tell you a story. Yes and no. I am really dense and very linear and pedestrian. I'm a simple man. And I had to, in order for me to at least attempt to understand this, I needed to write the whole thing out. I needed to do that process of changing, of dissecting letter by letter, hand drawn, letter by letter, every step of the thing, looking up every direction of every star, looking up every definition of words I didn't understand in order to enshrine it in a book. It took months. It took many months to do that. And when it came time for me to actually start doing the ceremony, because I wasn't going to just stop there, believe me, I'm a young magician. While I'm doing this, I'm not even fully grasping why I'm doing any of this stuff. Not only that, well, I'll tell you in a minute. Anyway, I started doing this. Okay, it's a meditative process. You have to more or less commit to so many weeks and everything. And at the time, I was enjoying one of my numerous seasons of unemployment. My mornings were free, okay? And I started doing it. Literally, you get yourself prepared and get yourself in a meditative position, because it's all done in your mind after you've walked through it a million times in your physical body. And I'm not sure how many days I was into it, and I was getting into the swing of it. This was in 1988, I believe. About the first week or so, I was doing it every morning. The phone rang, and it was Christopher Hyatt. And not to go into too many details, but it was the first time Christopher Hyatt was a member of our lodge. I had initiated him into the OTO, and he was an active and very generous supporter of our lodge. And besides, he was a celebrity. Okay, he was already a best-selling author. And he called me in the morning, right in the middle of my invocation here, and said he was writing a book about tarot. Long story short, he invited me to co-author a book with him. And I'd never done anything like that before, but I said, sure, because he said, we'll treat it as a job, and I'll pay you to help me write a book, and then you and me will split the royalties. I said, I mean, it was a miracle. For me, it was like winning the lottery. And not only that, it was like winning the lottery. We ended up writing 4 books together, and that was the beginning of my magical career. But what happened with my Liber Samekh? I didn't continue with my Liber Samekh. What did I do to get my holy guardian angel? I'm not sure. And it would come many, many, many years later, and not, seemingly not as a result of me doing any particular ritual. There was no ritual, quid quo quo, quid quo quo. It came under other circumstances. But I have to admit that in reviewing both the Sacred Magick of Abramelin the Mage and Crowley's Liber Samekh, I can see every point, landmark along the way of the attainment of the knowledge and conversation through this process, if that makes sense at all. People ask me, if you're such a great magician, why aren't you rich and things like that, and I have to say, well, you don't know how poor I could be. I'm really lucky. Okay, I think whatever I'm doing, my magic is working because I know what a bum I really am, or really can be, So, did my eventual experience, was it the result of this ritual? Not directly. But had I not done all of this before, had I not created the Emerald Tablet of Lon, had I not triggered the events that led to eventually who I would be for the next 35 years, who knows? And what I'm telling you is, I think most individuals that have raised their consciousness to the level that's associated with Tifereth on the Tree of Life, that's associated with the knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel, have achieved that level of awakeness through means other than formally performing the Abramelin ritual or the Liber Samekh ritual. That's not to say don't do it. It's not to say don't study it. It's not to say don't practice it. But what I am saying is, it's something that's so big that it can't be corralled into a simple formulaic set of actions. But I digress. And I think I've digressed enough that I'm going to have to stop Sunday school for today and get on with my day. I got to go pick up Constance's bike at the bike shop. And then I'm going to go moon viewing tonight. And I tell you, if you go out and watch the eclipse tonight, know that Constance and I will be out watching the eclipse, and we can mind meld together. So be on your best behavior. I can't stand to be melded with anybody who's even crazier than I am. Okay, until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.